Hey everybody, it's time for part one of my rant, part one webcam portion of my rant on the 2018 film Venom. Like I said in part two, yeah, I recorded part two before I recorded this video right here, part one, the part one portion of this video. Like I said in part two, the 2018 Venom film, going back to Spider-Man 3, which is when this solo Venom film was announced, I always thought it was a bad idea. However, I was still going to see it and give it a shot because I was a huge Venom Eddie Brock Eddie Brock fan, but I always thought that this film was stupid, and it was even more stupid after the Sam Raimi trilogy ended because that that Venom hadn't even encountered Peter Parker's Spider-Man yet. Peter Parker's Spider-Man yet. In my opinion, if you wanted to make a Venom film, you had to make a film with him as Spider-Man first. That is automatic, no matter what you're adapting or what type of story you're trying to tell. Peter Parker has to be there, and he has to be there first. Venom, Eddie Brock first appeared in the Spider-Man mythos as an antagonist, and that is what should have happened. But despite all that, I'm a huge fan of Venom and the symbiotes. They're some of my all-time favorite characters from the Spider-Man mythos. So I was gonna still watch and give the movie a shot anyway. I got really excited for the news that Sony could share this Venom film with the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And this is one of the main reasons, this is one of the biggest problems I have with this film. Like I said in part two, despite all the criticisms you're going to hear, despite all the hatred I have for Sony, I still like this film. This film is actually my favorite of their terrible universe. The best is Into the Spider-Verse, but I hate that film too. This is my favorite one because it features my all-time favorite character, Venom, who, by the way, like I said in part two, Venom is the only thing good in this film. Everything about this film is absolutely terrible and boring. But before we get to that, like I said, I was excited. I was excited that he could appear. Then once again, just right before the film came out, they announced, before the film released to theaters, they announced that no, this is part of their Sony universe. Marvel universe. This is not part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And it was there when I abandoned this film and of course the later film that came out in December, Spider-Man Into the Verse. And I said, I'm not watching either one of those. I refuse to watch a Spider-Man movie without Marvel's involvement. And like I said in part two, the film was just terrible. It took Venom 54 minutes to enter the film. The first 54 minutes were boring. Venom and followed by the villain Riot were the best things, the best characters in the film. Everyone in the film, no one in the film cared about the movie. No one really gave a good performance. No, you can tell no one cared about the movie. And the only guy who did care about the film, Tom Hardy. Tom Hardy was horribly miscast as Eddie Brock. Like I said in part two, this usually isn't a problem, but his accent, his British accent, was highly noticeable. Highly noticeable. This usually isn't a problem for me, but it was here. They should have got an American or a Canadian or an Australian. These races of people can do a good American accent, but British people can't. So yeah, and he was terrible. Everything, like I said, everything with him was boring, monotone, and the entire film was boring. I ended up doing something else for the first 54 minutes. It got real good when Venom came in the film. Venom was the best actor, the best character, the best everything, followed by Riot. I didn't mind the big CGI fight scene with which everyone is criticizing too much. I didn't mind that. There were way worse things happening in the film. So many problems with this film, but in the fact that Sony didn't care that this film wasn't good. They knew this film wasn't good. They just wanted to make a bunch of money. Then they tried to save face by doing something iconic at the end, which I heard about but didn't see. Then they try to shoehorn Carnage in a post-credit scene where the actor portraying Cletus Cassidy was already terrible. It was already terrible. But like I said, this film was absolutely terrible. The only reason I like it because it's Venom. All the negative reception it got is well deserved. Is well deserved. And another problem I hate is that Sony they don't want to be. They want to have their own universe separate from Marvel, even though they suck. And secondly, they use the hype of the of this being in the Marvel Cinematic Universe to sell and get people into that theater. So with that being said, this let's get this video started right now. This is my world, and it doesn't matter what you think. And I'm about to show you what I'm made of. This is part two of my rant on the 2018 Venom. I initially had a part two narration portion already recorded, but I decided to scrap that one because my opinions on a certain subject about the 2018 Venom film and the entire Sony Spider-Man franchise has changed then. So I decided to do a new video to reflect that opinion change. With that being said, let's get on with this film. My opinions on this film have not changed. Now, unlike the other Sony based Spider-Man films, I actually like this film right here. Despite how terrible and how atrocious it is. And the main reason I like this film is because it is a Venom film. But make no mistake about it, it is one of the worst comic book based films of all time. It's actually the worst. It's even worse than The Amazing Spider-Man Part 1 and 2, even though I hate The Amazing Spider-Man Part 1 and 2 even more than I hate this film right here. But I only like this film because it's Venom. Venom is one of my all-time favorite characters in the Spider-Man franchise. And and um and he alone, his character alone in this film was the only thing that was good about this film. Venom, the main antagonist, Riot, the other symbiote, and the voice actors of Venom and Riot were the only things that were good about this film. So from on a scale of 1 to 10, they get a 3. They get a low 3. is that terrible. It is one of the worst movies of all time. No one, no human actor in this film was good. Tom Hardy and everyone in this film was absolutely terrible. This usually isn't a problem with most films, but it was a problem here. Tom Hardy's British accent was noticeable and was a distraction throughout the entire film. I have no problems. I actually like Brits, Australians, and Canadians in our film, but they should have got an American or a Canadian to play Eddie Brock. First off, the character in the comic books is American, and um um and Americans and Canadians are real good at doing actual American accents. So next time, cast an American or a Canadian, or at least if you're gonna cast someone from Europe and Australia, make sure they can do a really good American accent, because this was terrible. I'm borrowing a couple of things from John Avenger 1985's hilarious and awesome rant on Venom, where he said Tom Hardy sounded like white Mike Tyson in this film, and he did. He was monotone. He was monotone with everything, and with every piece of dialogue, he was monotone and dry with every piece of dialogue he had in the film. Like I said, every actor was terrible. No one gave a good performance. Every performance was weak. The only two good performances were whoever doing the voices of Venom and Riot, which those scenes also were the best. This film um was not only terribly acted and performed, but the film was straight up boring. See, luckily, I didn't see this when it was in theater. I caught a leak. I caught a leak stream. I caught a leak. I watched a leak stream 1 year later, and I'm glad I did because I can skip all those parts. I was skipping. Actually, I wasn't skipping any parts. I got so bored, I decided to play video games while the rest of the film plays until it got to the parts where I want to see, where Venom was on the screen and the final confrontation between Venom and Riot, which a lot of people have a problem with that CGI fight. That was one of the best parts of the freaking movie. Of the freaking movie. Then going. Let's go back to the history of this film. In I've always thought the idea of a Venom film sucked. Back in 2007, during the Sam Raimi trilogy, when they announced that they were making a Venom based film, I always thought that the Venom movie was I always thought the idea of a Venom movie was terrible. But at least back then, that was during the Sam Raimi Spider-Man series, and Peter Parker had already encountered Eddie Brock, Venom, in that universe. I always thought a Venom film without Spider-Man was complete and utterly retarded. Then I was offended in these in when the Sam Raimi Spider-Man was over in the Amazing Spider-Man 2012, the Amazing Spider-Man film series, the Amazing Spider-Man film series. They couldn't even get the main characters, Peter, Uncle Ben, Aunt May, Gwen Stacy, and the villains of that universe right. Then they had the audacity to announce spin-offs, and one of those spin-offs was they were continuing ahead with the Venom film, even though once again Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man had not even encountered Venom Eddie Brock in that universe. Then when that universe thankfully ended and Spider-Man was rebooted into the Marvel Cinematic Universe, they still were going ahead with the Venom film. Then right around the time the Venom movie was being made, they actually said that the Venom film could appear in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. They actually used the idea of Venom appearing in the Marvel Cinematic Universe film as a push to get people to see this garbage film. And that's when, and this right here, and I was excited. I was excited for it. That was until I heard that no, this will not be in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but it will be part of a Sony Spider-Man universe. It was there when I said no, 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 and I decided to boycott this film, and I'm glad I did, because like I said, this was one of the worst films of all time, and it is also one of the worst films of 2018. Of 2018, this film was absolutely terrible, and it didn't deserve to make all the money it did. It it made a lot of money at the box office, but it but it failed critically with critics. It felt critically with critics, and I'm glad it did. And I agree with every critic. A lot of people saying those critics don't know what they're talking about. Yes, they do. This you can like this film. I like this film, but they are not wrong when they talk about how terrible this film was. Double toasted. Corey and Martin. Corey and Martin had the best um had the best review of this piece of shit film right here. I only like it because it's Venom. Same reason I went to Dragon Ball Super because Broly was in the film. Except that movie was 1,000 times better than this movie right here. This movie was terrible, terrible, and I am not excited for the sequel that comes out later this year, October of this year. I am not excited. I am not watching any film from I'm not watching any film, any Spider-Man film not in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and any Spider-Man film produced by Sony. Sony, because they didn't learn nothing from those piece of shit Amazing Spider-Man films, and they don't even care if these films are good. They just want your they just want your money. They just care about money. The Marvel Cinematic Universe, they care about money too. Disney and MCU care about money, but they at least have some passion and want these films to look and be good and always try to make the best film possible. What else about this terrible movie right here? What else about Venom? Venom. What else about Venom? So that's pretty much everything. That's actually pretty much everything I had to say about Venom. Venom, one of the worst movies of all time. I only like it because I can also skip the parts I don't like and go straight to the parts I do like. And because, like I said, it's a Venom film. It's a Venom film. So, but this entire film was terrible. This entire film was terrible. It was one of the worst films ever. It's actually even worse than the Amazing Spider-Man Part One and Two. Even though I hate both of those movies more than I hate this movie. Those movies had a better cast. Those movies had a better cast of actors and actresses than this movie did. One of the worst movies ever. I also heard they ripped off other horror films. I can't remember the two they were, and they also ripped off Mission Impossible, the most recent Mission Impossible film. Well, like I said, I'm finished. If you want to hear the rest of the music, no, I'm not done yet. I'm not done yet. And then, of course, like I said, oh yes, post credit scenes. I gotta talk about those post credit scenes. I only heard about the post credit scenes because this film was so terrible. I turned it off after after the film was over. I refused to stick around for any post credit scenes. But in the post credit scenes, according to Double Toasted, there were two post credit scenes. There were two post credit scenes. One introducing introducing the actor for Cletus Cassidy, Carnage, for the next film, for the next Venom movie, and the second ending credit scene involving they try as a last minute apology for how terrible this movie was. Like Double Toasted said, they tried to attach this movie to the Spider-Man into the Spider-Verse movie, which that was unlike this film, that was well received and is widely considered one of the greatest films, one of the greatest Spider-Man films and animated films of all time. I thought that film sucked too, and I'm going to be talking about that next time. But they try to apologize for making this atrocious film by attaching it to the next film and trying to connect Venom to to that atrocious to what was a good universe. That right there. If I was Double Toasted, if you know Double Toasted, they have their ratings. If it's a film that pushes the boundaries of cinema and is like the best of all time, it gets a better than sex. If it's a great movie, this is the price they usually get. The better than sex is rare. This is the one they usually get. They get a full price. They get a full price. If it's a good film, but see it in the afternoon. See it in the afternoon. They put matinee on the film. Matinee. If it's a good film but not good in theaters, watch this leak copy or wait till it comes out for DVD, Blu-ray, and internet. Here's the rental right here. And then if it's terrible with little to no redeemable qualities, some old bullshit, which is what this film gets. It gets a high some old bullshit and low rental, cause I'm a huge Venom fan. Low rental. Um, but here's the award it really deserves, especially after put those two atrocious post-credit scenes. Those atrocious post-credit scenes. This was invented on the spot when they saw Aaron Seltzer and Freebird's disaster movie. They invented a fuck you rating, which this rating is for films they deem not only terrible but downright repugnant and offensive. And that's what this film deserved. This is high sumo bullshit and rental for me though, because I'm a huge Venom fan. Venom fan. But yeah, so this was my review. This was my rant on the 2018 Venom film. You don't want to hear the rest of the music? Turn the video off right now.